Cordelia Voss had been married for 19 years. 19 years of packing lunches, building a home, raising 2 children, and supporting a man who told her every single day that she was his world. She believed him. She believed him when he said the finances were taken care of. She believed him when he said the paperwork was handled. She believed him when he said, "We're good, baby. Don't worry about anything." And then he died, and the insurance company called, and the name on the $2 million policy was not hers. It was the name of a woman Cordelia had never heard of. A woman named Felicia Drum. A name that would unravel 19 years of marriage in one phone call and ignite a chain of events so precise, so quietly devastating, that even the lawyers who witnessed it couldn't believe what one woman was capable of. This is not a story about a woman who cried and moved on. This is a story about a woman who smiled and then got to work. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. Cordelia had buried her husband, Merritt Voss, on a cold Tuesday in November. He had died of a sudden cardiac event at 52. No warning, no would-be, just a phone call from the hospital and a world that collapsed in 60 seconds. She had grieved. She had wept. She had held her children, her son Tobias, 21, and her daughter Priya, 17, and told them they were going to be okay. She believed that too, until 8 days after the funeral, when a woman named Sandra Elks from Pinnacle Life Insurance called and said, "Mrs. Voss, we've processed the policy claim and we want to confirm the beneficiary details with Felicia Drum before we proceed." Cordelia had gone completely still. "I'm sorry," she said. Ooh, there was a pause on the line. "Felicia Drum. She's listed as the sole beneficiary on Merritt Voss's $2 million life insurance policy. It was last updated 14 months ago. 14 months. Not when they were dating. Not before the wedding. 14 months ago, while Cordelia was sitting across from this man at dinner, while she was sleeping beside him, while she was trusting him with everything she had, he had removed her name and replaced it with someone else's. She thanked Sandra. She hung up, and she sat at the kitchen table for 4 hours without moving. She didn't cry. She thought, because Cordelia Voss was not a woman who reacted. She was a woman who calculated. Before she married Merritt, she had spent 12 years as a forensic financial analyst. She knew how money moved. She knew how paper trails worked. She knew where the cracks were in every financial structure. And she was about to use every single bit of that knowledge. Here's what most people don't know about beneficiary designations on life insurance policies. And this is the part that changes everything. Cordelia didn't call a lawyer first. She called her old colleague, a woman named Destra Hollings, who had spent 20 years doing financial investigations for a private firm in Atlanta. Destra had one rule: follow the money before you follow the emotion. Within 48 hours, Destra had pulled together a picture of Felicia Drum that made Cordelia's stomach turn, but also sharpened her focus like a blade. Felicia Drum was 34 years old. She worked in marketing. She lived in a 2-bedroom apartment in Charlotte, North Carolina, 200 miles from where Cordelia and Merritt had built their life in Asheville. And she had been with Merritt, on and off, for nearly 3 years. 3 years. But here's the twist that nobody, not even Destra, saw coming at first. Felicia Drum had no idea Merritt was married. None. Merritt had told Felicia that he was a widower. He had shown her photos, carefully cropped photos. He had introduced himself as a man who'd lost his wife to cancer. He had built an entire fabricated life to keep this woman close. Felicia had believed him the same way Cordelia had believed him. Both women had loved a lie, and both women were about to collide. Now here's the part where most people would assume Cordelia went to war with Felicia. But what she actually did next, nobody expected. Stay with me. Cordelia drove to Charlotte alone. She did not bring a lawyer. She did not bring Destra. She did not bring her anger. Or at least, she did not wear it on her face. She found Felicia's address, and she sat outside in her car for 20 minutes. Then she knocked on the door. Felicia answered in a gray sweatshirt, eyes puffy and red. She had been crying too. She had also just received a call from the insurance company. And unlike Cordelia, she had no idea the policy even existed. Merritt had apparently named her without her knowledge. When Cordelia introduced herself, "I'm Cordelia Voss. Merritt was my husband." Felicia's face went through 5 emotions in 3 seconds. Shock, confusion, horror, shame, and then something that surprised Cordelia entirely. Grief. Real, raw grief. Because Felicia had also loved him. Truly, she had believed she was in love with a decent, lonely widower. She had built a future in her mind with this man. And now she was discovering that the man she had mourned for 8 days was not who she thought he was either. They sat at Felicia's kitchen table for 2 hours. They talked. They compared stories. They matched dates and discovered how meticulously Merritt had managed his double life. Separate phones, fabricated travel schedules, strategic silences. By the end of that conversation, Cordelia had made a decision that stunned even herself. She was not going to fight Felicia for the money. She had a better plan. Because Cordelia had found something in Merritt's records. Something that made the $2 million insurance policy the least interesting piece of the puzzle. Stay right here. When Destra had pulled Merritt's financial records, she had found something Cordelia had initially brushed past in her grief. A shell company, registered in Delaware under the name Crestview Allocations, LLC, with Merritt listed as sole director. The company had been opened 7 years ago, quietly and without Cordelia's knowledge. Over 7 years, Merritt had been siphoning money from his joint business account. He and Cordelia had co-owned a property management firm and routing it through Crestview. Small amounts at first, then larger ones. Transfers disguised as vendor payments, consulting fees, maintenance contracts that didn't exist. Total amount moved through Crestview Allocations over 7 years. For $1,300,000. Cordelia had been sitting on a gold mine and a crime without knowing it. Here's what Merritt had apparently planned. The life insurance policy was a gift to Felicia, a woman he may have been building a second life with. The Crestview money was likely destined to fund that life if he ever walked away from Cordelia, or after his death if things fell apart. But Merritt had made one critical error. He had died before he could move the Crestview assets. The money was still sitting in accounts that, because the company had been funded with marital assets, Cordelia had a full legal claim to. Every single dollar. But here's where the revenge becomes something else entirely. Because Cordelia didn't just want the money back. She wanted something far more permanent. Cordelia hired an attorney named Beaumont Rail, a forensic estate lawyer in Asheville who had a reputation for being utterly relentless and completely silent until the moment he struck. Beaumont reviewed everything Destra had compiled and told Cordelia 3 things. 1. The Crestview funds, because they were sourced from marital assets, could be reclaimed as part of the estate under North Carolina law. 2. The fraudulent transfers constituted financial fraud against Cordelia as a business partner, which opened a separate civil action. 3. The life insurance beneficiary change, done without disclosure and as part of a documented pattern of financial concealment, could be contested in court. Then Cordelia called Felicia one more time. "I don't want to fight you," she said. "You were deceived as much as I was. But I need you to sign an affidavit confirming that you had no knowledge of the policy and that Merritt told you he was a widower. If you do that, if you help me build the legal picture of who he really was, I will give you $200,000 from the estate settlement. Voluntarily. No courtroom. No battle. Just 2 women who both got lied to, choosing to walk away with something instead of nothing." Felicia agreed without hesitation. Within 60 days, Beaumont had filed a combined estate fraud and financial misconduct claim against the Voss estate. Felicia's affidavit, combined with the Crestview paper trail, constructed an airtight case that Merritt had systematically defrauded his wife using marital funds to build a secret financial infrastructure. The insurance company launched its own internal investigation. 93 days after Merritt's funeral, a judge signed an order returning the Crestview assets to the marital estate for $1,300,000. And because of how the policy contestation was handled, the life insurance benefit was reclassified and folded into the estate as well. $2 million. Total, $6,300,000. All of it, minus attorney fees, minus the $200,000 to Felicia, minus taxes, went directly to Cordelia and her children. 3 months after the settlement, Cordelia restructured the property management firm, fully in her name. She hired a new operations director, a woman named Issa Pemberton, who had been quietly passed over for promotions at a rival firm for years. She bought the building that had housed the firm's offices, a building Merritt had deliberately kept as a rental because he had planned to eventually strip it through Crestview. She purchased it outright, cash, and she put the deed in her daughter Priya's name, a 17-year-old girl who would own a commercial building before she turned 18 because her father had tried to steal her future and her mother had quietly taken it back. But here is the final moment, the one that made even Beaumont put down his pen and go quiet when he heard about it. Cordelia requested one document from the insurance company before the case closed, the original policy form, the one with Felicia's name on it, the one Merritt had signed 14 months before he died, believing he was building a secret future that Cordelia would never find. She had it framed, and she hung it in the main lobby of the newly purchased building, the building that now belonged to her daughter. Not as decoration. She had a small brass plate mounted beneath it. For words. He forgot who I was. Every business partner who walked into that building saw it. Every vendor. Every tenant. Every person who had known Merritt Voss and assumed his wife had been left with nothing. They all saw it, and they all understood. Merritt had spent years building a trap for a woman he underestimated. She had found the trap, dismantled it piece by piece, and built something permanent on top of the wreckage. Her children asked her once if she hated their father. She thought about it for a long time. I hate what he chose, she said, but I'm grateful he underestimated me. Most people who deceive you are counting on you to fall apart. The greatest thing you can do is disappoint them. Merritt Voss thought he had built a safety net for someone else. He thought he had hidden everything perfectly. He thought that when he was gone, the woman he deceived for 19 years would find a policy with a stranger's name and have nowhere to turn. He forgot one thing. He forgot who he married. Cordelia walked into the worst moment of her life and came out the other side with the company, the building, the money, and her children's future secured, growing, and permanently in her name. And the woman whose name was on that policy? She went home with $200,000, a hard lesson, and a story she'll never tell anyone. The quietest revenge is always the most complete, because it doesn't announce itself. It simply arrives. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Drop a comment and tell us. What would you have done in Cordelia's position? We read every single one. And if you're new here, welcome. You found the right place. The brass plate says it all. He forgot who I was.